So Oliver walks into the garage. He's rather surprised to find his old friend, White, there standing in the garage looking up at him. Now Oliver knows what that White had stolen from him. Oliver knows that White has been working for Bill. Oliver also knows that White is deliberately sabotaging what Bill is trying to currently do. So, all these thoughts are rushing through Oliver's mind as White says to him, "We don't have much time. So here's what's going to happen. I am going to help capture you because we know, right, the gang is right behind you. I'm going to help capture you, but I think that Bill's gang is ready to turn on him. And I think that in that confusion, we can possibly save Fleece's Landing. What I need you to do, because you'll be in more of a position to do this than I will, I need you go find out who's going to be the easiest to turn. And then that's what we're going to do. At this point, in rushes, was it Shav? Chaz. You know, the lieutenant. Shan. Okay. So in bursts Shan with a number of people with him, and there is Oliver. There's Preen and her gang as well. Oliver says, "I kept them here for you." Not Oliver. Oliver does not say. White. White says, "I kept them here for you. I think Bill will be very interested." And this, I think that Oliver is going to kind of give some, like, try to give some kind of meaningful glance or something to Preen so that she can also indicate to her gang that they're not going to fight this one. They are, in fact, going to go along with it. And we're going to see where this is going to go. Right, so our goal here, right, is we want to go with uh, Shen and the men that he has with him, effectively in medium-sized gangs, of somewhere like 25, 50 people, so somewhere in that range. We're going to go with him, and we are going to try and find out what we can about the workings of the gangs. Okay, so that's our plan. Right, so sure enough, they take us, whatever vehicles they are traveling in, right? They take all of us. There's not a whole lot of it. I've decided that like Green had like maybe a dozen people. We lost a couple of them in the last session. And also Oliver himself is in very bad shape as far as that goes. I mean, he is certainly stable, but he is definitely wounded and like meaningfully so. Like not enough that it's going to interfere with his ability to act, but enough that it is going to create issues for him if he gets any more hurt. So it would be kind of nice for him to like get some medical care or something like that. But he's not really in control. What's happening at this point? Like he really didn't have much choice but to go along with what was Oliver's plan. Not Oliver, White's plan. White's plan. Oliver is going along with White's plan because really there is no other option that was presented. And there wasn't time to come up with a different plan. So that's what we're doing. So they're taken to Bill's camp. Bill's camp, we know, is much further north. Right now, where we are, I had decided, I'm pretty sure that I put this on the threat map, that we are, at the moment, the hangar, or what turns out was White's garage, or at least the garage that has White here. This was, yes, there it is. White's garage is to the west of Fleece's Landing, where we know that Bill's gang, his hideout, whatever it is to the north of Fleece's Landing. So we're going to be traveling to the northeast as we move from the west to the north. Uh, so that's that. Now, there's not a whole lot here that I can see we're necessarily going to be passing or anything like that, right? So I guess we'll just fast forward a little bit. Okay, so as we get there to Bill, so the question, so I need to start asking some questions because right, so Oliver and Prince Gang are there. Now, obviously, Bill is not going to just like keep them together where they can scheme and plot and all of that. He's going to separate them up as best he can, right? But remember, he's not running a prison or anything like that. No, he's running a gang, right? And in the gang, yeah, I mean, we have some ability to hold hostages, but it's a reasonably large group of people, right? And really, his goal here, okay, he is a collector. Right? That is, he wants to own stuff. So what he's really hoping to do, right, is to convince Oliver to join him and convince Preen and her gang to join him as well, right? So that is really his goal amidst all of this. So I think he's not going to treat them too badly, despite the fact that his gang is much nastier, right? They like it says they act like a cult. They really want to victimize and manipulate people. That is what they're in this to do, right? But that is not so much Bill's goal. Bill wants to get things for himself. That is his goal. All right. So that is where we find ourselves now, right? We are captured by Bill's gang, and we need to find out what happens. So the first thing I want to know, so Oliver's is clearly right, trying to find out what is going on here. So I assume that there is some kind of guard over him. So let's see if I can find this. Just need a name right, for this guard. Name and description. Right, so this guard is. Oh, we already did Joe's girl, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Cross her off. There we go. Joe's girl. Drummer. I don't think that I used drummer before. So drummer is the guard. I don't think drummer is going to be particularly important for the most part, but I will make a quick note of drummer's name, just that I remember. So the guard is drummer. Is there anything particularly notable about drummer? That's a fair question. So, notable feature? Unusual equipment is what I have here. With a detail focus, that's one thing. For some reason, the synchronization between my camera that's pointing at my dice and my computer is off. Which this sometimes happens, but it's like way off when I've been like trying this thing today. Don't know what's going on with that. It's kind of weird, but eventually you'll see that I rolled a 5. All right. So detail focus. So we found out he has some kind of unusual piece of equipment. So this is something that Oliver could potentially use. So unusual equipment. What is the detail about that equipment? It's a 7. Simple, harsh, social. It's not giving me much to go on. And what does the equipment do? Got a 2. Seek, mystical. Okay, so I think putting this all together, I think Drummer has like some goggles or something like that. And this is something that Oliver can work with because Oliver, Savvyhead, he likes tech, right? So Oliver notices Drummer's goggles. Well, there's the 5. Uh, Oliver notices Drummer's goggles and is like, huh, those are pretty interesting. Can I take a look at those? Now, I don't think Drummer's going to go along with it. I think it's actually very unlikely that he's going to go along with it, but let's give it a roll. Right, so let's just say if I roll 5 or higher here, that he's game. Rolled a 4, so he's not. He's not game. Okay, so Drummer's like, no, I'm not gonna hand these to you. right? But we do want to try to get some information out of him, and I think we're going to have to do so in a manipulative fashion, right? So that being the case, I think that we are going to have to. There we go. Basic moves. This would be to seduce or manipulate someone. We're trying to manipulate, right? Tell them what you want to do, give them a reason, and roll plus hot. Oh gosh. Let's just say this is not probably going to go very well for um, Oliver. All right. So, but let's try it. Let's try it. You never know. You never know. Here we go. Watch what's happening. My hot is a -1. So what we want him to do, we want him to tell us about the inner workings of the gang. Specifically, I want to know whether he in particular is in fact unhappy with Bill's leadership and would be willing to turn on him. If not, who would be? Right. So that's what we're trying to figure out. And that's it. So like the reason says give them a reason. Right. So what's the reason he might actually go along with this? I mean, we could obviously help him out. He likes tech. We like tech. We're good with tech, right? So I mean, we could possibly tip the scales to help whichever side he's on. We just need to know what side that is. So I think that's going to be the argument we're going to make. Uh, Now, of course, well, all we really want to do, we just want to get this going. So I'm, I'm going to go ahead and count it as manipulation, even though it's kind of debatable. Oh goodness. Um, it's a roll of 4. Without modification, a 4 would be a fail. With modification, a 3 is definitely a fail, right? So what happens when you fail at this? It says, okay, on a miss for either NPCs or PCs, be prepared for the worst. Okay, well, in that case, I need to pull out my tools to find out what to do on a fail move. Okay, failure moves, roll a d6. 2, put someone in a spot. Well, I mean, clearly it's supposed to be a bad spot. Right? So I think that what has happened is that it turns out Drummer is very much not interested in betraying Bill. Instead, in fact, is very loyal to him. Which means now, right, we have the problem that our guard is not happy with us at all. Right now, another thing that I would kind of like them to do, I would like for, yeah, okay, there's the roll. I would really like to, one thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to turn off that. There we go. Let me just turn off the wrong one first. Okay. There's no point in having it if it's not going to show you what's actually happening right now. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do. Okay, so what puts him in a spot? I mean, he is naturally in a spot because he just revealed that he's trying to. Um, I mean, Drummer sees right through him. He's obviously trying to overthrow Bill, and Bill is now obviously going to be aware of this because Drummer is in fact a loyalist. So I think that's a very bad place to be. Right. So the question is, right, what is Bill going to do given the situation? Because Oliver's already in bad shape. Um, so I think, okay, the most obvious thing here that's coming to my mind is Bill says, well, okay, so Drummer reports this conversation to Bill. Bill's, I think that Bill is going to try to be very fake magnanimous. If that works. Right, so fake magnanimous about this. I want to look up here. Where's Bill? See if I have any notes about him. Might be useful. He's wealthy. He's an engineer turned warlord. That's really all I know about him. And he's a collector. So again, remember his goal is to own. He doesn't want to destroy if he can own. Right. So well, here's the thing. Right. So Drummer leaves somebody else who's not interested in interacting with Oliver at all. And Bill comes back. Hmm. This is the first I'm aware of that Oliver has actually interacted with Bill. And I think Bill is going to be quite direct. Say, well, here's the deal. I am working to make your town a better place. In order to do that, they need new leadership. Or, any leadership, as the case may be. And I'm willing to provide that. However, it seems that your folks are a little bit resistant, shall we say. So I need your help in completing this vehicle that we have begun. But I also understand that you're not particularly interested in my mission succeeding. So here's the deal. All right, help me out, and see that you're not in great shape. I can help you with that. Don't, and things can get worse for you. Things can also get worse for your friends, right? Cree and her gang as well. So it's really quite straightforward. You can help me, or you can not. Your choice. But you know what the consequences are going to be one way or the other. Sleep on it. Oh, and just to show that I'm serious, he motions to somebody else who came in with him because we'll retcon this. I says, yeah, patch him up. Right. And this person does, in fact, right, patch up Oliver a bit enough, right, that I'm going to let him heal one clock segment, which means now he is at 6 o'clock rather than 9 o'clock, which means his injuries will, in fact, get better on their own over time, assuming that he doesn't get hurt again, which could happen. All right, so that is where we are. So what happens next? Well, Oliver's going to have to make a decision. Here's the thing about Oliver. Oliver, as we know from his past, let's go through. Remember, we did the what he has done, what he has not done. Right? He has been betrayed. Right? He has solved a mystery. He's felt alone. He has left home. He has never held an important secret. He has not ever been in a position of real power. He's never betrayed another. And he has not lost faith. So he's not the kind of person that's going to betray somebody. He's not the kind of person that's going to lose faith. So the question is, as the kind of person he is, what is it? And I'm just like trying to put myself in this position. Like, what would you do? Because when it comes down to it, I mean, he's going to have to betray somebody. That's unavoidable at this point. Because, like, he can help build this tank, in which case he's effectively betraying his home. He can refuse, in which case he is effectively betraying Preen's gang. Or, of course, he could pretend that he's going to help. He could choose the white path, right? And that is pretend that he's helping, but not actually be helping instead, or right, trying to sabotage the thing at the same time. So this is being put in a spot. Success on that, right? But what is the thing for him to do? I mean, I can't see him helping. I can't see that happening. At least not for real. He's very open though, so it's he's not going to keep secrets. He's not going to be good at it, to be perfectly honest. Well, so I have a hard time believing that he is going to like sabotage the thing. Which then that only leaves one option. And that's a really, really bad option for Preen and her gang. But I think that's what has to happen. Unless he can make some other contact, or Preen has made some other contact. Because she was there. She was there for the conversation. She knows that White at least suspects, right, that the gang is ready to turn on Bill. So maybe she has had better luck, possibly. So what I'm going to do, I am going to roll for that possibility. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll for that possibility. So Preen is guarded by somebody else. So, like, I don't know much about what's happening there. I'm trying to stay in Oliver's point of view. Preen is not statted out as a full character, right? So she's just an NPC. Uh, but I think we're going to think about what's happening with her for a minute, right? So I'm just going to use some of my Oracle tools and try to make this decision this way, right? So Preen is similarly very much like Oliver was trying to do with Drummer, but it just didn't work because Drummer is too loyal, right? So Drummer, I'm just going to mark here that loyal. Preen, on the other hand, has somebody else that she is dealing with. What is the name of her guard? It is Bowles. So I don't know. Is Balls loyal? I'm just going to give it an even chance. So 4 higher on this d6. 6. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Any modifier? No modifier on it. So, yeah, so it turns out her guard is also loyal. So she's in trouble as well. Now, one thing that I'm thinking about too, I'm thinking about Preen's gang, because they've taken quite a few hits. Like people have died. So I'm wondering how well her gang is holding together. Because I can see that she personally is going to try to stay, I mean, loyal to what she agreed to, but I don't know that her gang necessarily will. They're not a very big group. Now they're surrounded by a large gang. They're not fighting their way out of this one. And they might be able to escape, possibly. We'll think about that when it comes nighttime. But are they going to stay loyal to her? That is a fair question. So let's go ahead and try this. Are they going to stay loyal to her? 50-50, I'm going to say. The answer is no. Right. So we have we have a problem here, and that Bill is trying to collect, and it turns out right that he has successfully right, collected most of Preen's gang. Right, she really doesn't have anybody left. She herself is trying to stay loyal to Oliver. Oliver, staying loyal to Fleece's Landing, has decided that he is simply going to refuse. Now, this creates a problem for Bill. After all, Preen doesn't have anybody anymore. So, what is Bill going to do? That's a good question. Right, so I think I'm going to roll here for pacing move. So I'm not sure what Bill wants to do. 5, advance a plot. Okay. Well, I mean, okay, the obvious thing is that Bill is working on his machine. Right, so I assume here that probably what happened, um, so overnight happens, right? And I think Oliver is very much in the dark what's happening here. Now, we know that Preen's gang has abandoned her. I think she knows that as well. At the very least, Bill has told her that, because there's no reason not to try to break her spirit. Right? Oliver is refusing. Bill says, fine. Right. Although Bill himself knows that he doesn't really have anybody to kill. Except Preen herself, right? That's it. And he kind of has the feeling that once that happens, things are done. Right? So because I mean he does his I think his hold on Preen's gang is a little bit tenuous at this point, right? So you know, okay, right. So I think Bill is having to be less vicious than he might otherwise because he's trying to engineer a solution to what he wants to get, right? And that is not immediately obvious how to do this for him, right? So he is trying to just kind of be threatening, right? But at the same time, there's not really much that he can do in terms of actual threats, apart from like, okay, yeah, he can threaten Oliver physically, but he's almost half dead as it is, right? So there's not a whole lot that he can do apart from saying, "Oh, if you don't help me, I'll kill you." Well, okay, fine, right? Um, you still don't get what you want. So I think that the most obvious thing, to me, is that I don't think that the gang is actually ready to turn on Bill. That's what it all boils down to. I think that this thought that White had was simply not correct. I think that is what all the evidence says. Instead, Bill is successfully right, collecting people. Right? Right. So what he really needs is somebody technologically oriented. That is the thing that he is having problems with. Now, he himself has some technological ability. We found out, we do know that he was an engineer in the past, right? And he was turned warlord. He wants to collect Fleece's Landing as part of his holdings or something like that. Uh, but I don't know that he is particularly bloodthirsty as far as that goes. So that being the case, what is he going to do? Well, if we advance the plot, which is what I rolled, it makes sense to me that White would come back to Bill's place. Um, and this is going to help us push things forward somehow. So I think that White's immediate intervention actually is going to create the potential, right, uh, for Oliver to escape. I think that's what's going to happen. Is that White, who is known to be loyal, uh, he manages to get some time with Oliver and says, "Look, I don't know what went wrong here, uh, but the reality is you got to go. You got this is not working. This is not working. You have to go. We have to get you out of here, right? So we're going to try to get you gone." Nightfall, we're going to get you out. Oliver insists that Preen be allowed out as well, as well as any of her gang that wishes to leave. Turns out there is none. But I think White is going to agree to this. Say, all right, well, we will get you out as best we can, and that will be that. So I think the obvious thing here, as we are trying to escape, I think the first thing we need to do, as we are preparing to escape, is we want to read the sitch as far as that goes. So that would be, and this is something I've been doing wrong, right? Oh no, no, read a stitch is fine. Okay, read a stitch is plus sharp, so we're going to roll that. That's a 7 plus 2, that's a 9. Okay, so that'd be just a mild success. Right, so reading the stitch, what is the best escape route, and it turns out that there is in fact like an area of Bill's camp that isn't quite as well guarded, right? So that we can actually escape that way, and we get a +1 if we do that. So in order to escape, I think we are doing this under fire, right? So not necessarily in a literal sense, but in that things are going to turn very ugly if things don't actually go well. This goes without saying. If things don't go well, they're going to go badly. Well, yes, yes, Professor, that is correct. Right, so Oliver, uh, they gather Preen, and the two of them prepare just book it. Um, and let's see how they do. Right, so they're doing this under fire. Now, I this is where I have forgotten one of the Savvyhead moves that Oliver has. That is, when you do something under fire, you can roll plus weird instead of plus cool. So is that a plus two? And then because he is going to be using the escape route that he discovered earlier, so it's a total of plus three, add this all up, and what was a roll of five becomes an eight. Eight on doing something under fire is you flinch, hesitate, or stall. The MC can offer you a worse outcome, hard bargain, or an ugly choice. Oh, not great. I think Preen doesn't make it. I think Preen gets captured in the escape. So the choice then that Oliver has to make, this is the ugly choice. I think that they're being chased and they know if one or the other of them stops and effectively turns themselves in, the other is going to make it out. Right? So Oliver needs to decide whether he is going to be the one that's going to go back, or he's going to be the one that leaves. And I think the decision is made. Not necessarily by Oliver. I think it's Preen that does this. Uh, Preen decides to be captured, thinking that maybe she can turn things around. But Oliver does, in fact, manage to escape in this process. So we leave the session. Oliver running away from Bill's camp, heading toward Fleece's Landing, hoping that he can regroup and come up with some kind of solution. All right, that's the end of the play session. So, as if you have been watching, this was session six. Uh, so, in this series. So, the end here, just to make a quick note, end Green captured, and Oliver escaped toward Fleece's Landing. All right. So, so if you have been watching the series, or if you haven't, either way, that's still true. What I'm doing here is an experiment in an eight session, three act. So it's three act, eight session plus a session zero um, structure. Right. This was session six. Right. In session six, what was supposed to happen in session six was we traveled to a third new location, which that happened, a reconciliation with an important figure from your past or the villain's past. And this is, in fact, something that is true. In fact, it's kind of both, right? And that White, we're kind of reconciled, and that White has literally been saving us one point after another, taking action to achieve the third part of their goals. So the third part of our goals was to try to get the Bill's gang to turn on him. We took action to try to make that happen, but we were utterly unsuccessful at that. So the next thing we need to do then is plan session seven. Session seven is the title of it is The Darkness Before the Dawn or Rebirth. And what we need to do, the PCs are going to suffer a major setback due to one of the villain's minions or plot. Nearly all hope is lost, but a new option for confronting the villain will be revealed or realized. Okay, so that is, I'm just going to mark this down. So the PCs suffer a major setback. Okay, nearly all hope is lost. So suffering a major setback. What I'm imagining is happening here. The most obvious thing is that I think Bill is feeling under the gun. So um, even though his device, right, with this tank in effect, is not completed, I think he's feeling the pressure that he really needs to move on Fleece's Landing because otherwise these stupid Fleece's Landing folks are just going to keep messing with him, and that's real annoying, right? So he doesn't want to do that, right? So I think that he's actually going to attack. So I'm going to say an attack on Fleece's Landing. That'd be a major setback, certainly, especially if it goes reasonably well. Okay. Nearly all hope is lost, and then a new option for confronting the villain is revealed or realized. I have no idea what it's going to be at this point, but I'm going to let it play itself out. Right? So this is going to be one of those play to find out what happens kinds of things that is suggested by Powered by the Apocalypse, this being the original Apocalypse world. Right? So I think I think this is looking pretty cool. This is looking pretty cool. So I think that that is our plan for next time. Really, the only thing we need here is what is the major setback going to be, and that I think that is going to be the attack on Fleece's Landing, which we will begin with. I think that probably what's happening really is that so it's nighttime, right, while Oliver's escaping to get to Fleece's Landing, and I think he's not going to get there very quickly because he's on foot again. Which means then, right, that there's plenty of time for Bill to go ahead and launch his attack, and they're probably going to be getting to Fleece's Landing not too far apart, temporally speaking. Right, so I think that that is how things are going to pick up next time, and then we'll find out how things go. I'm worried. I am not convinced, right, that this is actually going to end successfully. Not every story has a happy ending, just putting it that way. Well, we will find out in the final session. But that's not the next one. The next one, session 7, we have a plan for how it starts. Till then, this is Prof E, signing off.